Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure: all Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel. And just a note for those of you who are on Discord, you do need to verify your account to be able to post in this Options-Doug chat channel. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. My name there is @DougPless. Here are the key tenets to my approach for trading. This is the basis of my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures, and certainly the large cap tech stocks like the Magnificent Seven stocks that I trade and follow, as well as the equity index futures. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index, SPY is the ETF version of that index, and the ES futures contract is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index, QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index, and the NQ futures contract is a derivative of NDX. And just like the S&P 500, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis. And for setups, and when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. Setups in that asset can be taken with futures contracts, shares of stock, or options, depending on the particular asset as well as the way you like to trade. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions or comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. And hello, Hector. Welcome. Glad you're here. Hello, Stephen. Welcome. Glad you're here as well. Here's my agenda for today, Wednesday, July 24th. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, and events for yesterday, today, as well as the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. And then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's get started with news items, economic data, and events. So I'm sure everyone is aware that Google and Tesla reported earnings after the market closed yesterday. And so far for the day, Google's down about 4.66%, and Tesla is down just over 10%. And it's interesting that there are a couple of semiconductor stocks that are down more than Google today, like Broadcom and ARM Holdings. Nvidia not far behind at 4.5%. So big, large cap tech sell off today. All right, more about that in a few minutes. All right, so just for the rest of the week, quickly. News items, economic data releases. Tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, durable goods orders and GDP come out, again, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then on Friday, the PCE data released at 8:30 and 10 a.m. Michigan consumer sentiment. So as far as data releases go, the big data release for the week is on Friday morning, 8:30 a.m. PCE data. All right, so that is news items for the week. So let's move on to positional analysis. I'm going to start with the SP 500. This is the ES futures in Bookmap. Before I take a closer look at this chart, I'm going to take a look at a higher time frame. Going to go to the SPX, the underlying index. We've all seen this chart before. Big rally last year. Correction began this year, April 1st. Rally resumed the day after options expiration, the Monday after the April options expiration. Looking at the May options expiration, that is this next dashed vertical red line, there was a little bit of a pullback. Rally resumed. This is the June expiration. A little bit of consolidation around there. And then let's pick this up with a 1-hour chart around the July expiration last week. Go to a 30-day 1-hour chart. And this current pullback, correction, whatever it turns out to be, started last Wednesday with the VIX expiration. So Wednesday VIX expiration, pullback started. Looked like the SPX was going to recover. This is the July expiration. May be difficult to see that red vertical line. Looked like the pullback was over. Rally was going to resume. And then after, again, Tesla and Google reported earnings yesterday evening, now SPX dropping down again. All right, let's take a look at the levels on this chart. First of all, the dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. That's based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. SPX still above the lower weekly expected move. The dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move. That blue line is right on top of the purple line. And SPX gapped down below the lower daily expected move and is still trading below that level. All right, those are the expected moves, again, based on the options market. And I do post those expected moves in Discord every day the evening before. So I posted these expected moves yesterday evening. All right, the dark red lines on this chart are showing Spotgamma levels. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. These are available to Spotgamma subscribers on a variety of trading platforms. This is Thinkorswim. These are based on gamma-weighted open interest. Key daily levels, first the put wall at 5,300. That's a strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. Note that level did move down pretty substantially from yesterday. Now, as Remember, Friday was the July expiration, and I said before on Monday it typically takes several days for these new levels to stabilize, and it looks like they are now stabilizing at more rational levels than the kind of the odd number levels for the last couple of days. All right, so put wall moved down to 5,300. Again, expected to act as support. And above that is the volatility trigger at 55.65. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility and gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility. And SPX is trading firmly below that level now. Opened up this morning in a negative gamma position, and that if price remains down at this level, that negative gamma will certainly become more negative tomorrow. Above that is the absolute gamma strike at 5,600. That's the strike with the largest absolute positive and negative gamma. That's where most of the gamma-weighted open interest is concentrated. And then the call wall moved up to 5,750. That's the strike with the largest net positive gamma. That can be expected to act as resistance. And that level did move up from yesterday. So now the spot gamma levels, the key daily levels, are now settling out to more rational levels. Again, put wall moved lower, call wall moved higher. All right, let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1-minute chart. So here's SPX. You can see the big gap down from yesterday. Volatility trigger. SPX trading well below that level. Here's the upper daily expected move. And one key takeaway from this chart is this big void here between the 5,500 level and the 5,300 level. So according to this, not showing much below. And note that 5,500 was Spotgamma's risk off line in the sand. SPX did open up above that 5,500 level, moved down lower, found resistance at that level. We'll see that in Bookmap in just a minute, and traded lower. All right, let's go to Bookmap now. This is the ES futures in Bookmap. I have my own cloud notes in this chart, so I can show SPX levels. There is the SPX 5,500 level. Again, Spotgamma's risk off line in the sand. Note how it acted as resistance after this first move lower at the cash open. Also have SPY levels on this chart. And these are shown by the yellow labels, yellow lines. Let me just check something real quick. Take a look at a SPY chart. So it looks like all of these spot gamma levels are above for SPY as well. So SPY is trading, of course, below its well below its volatility trigger, and also its put wall at 550. In fact, at the cash open, SPY was already 1 point below its 550 put wall. All right, so again, I have SPX levels and SPY levels as well as key ES levels on this chart. Looks like maybe this SPY 544, and just above that the ES 5500 may be acting as support. We'll take a look at setups in just a few minutes. All right, so those are the levels in play for the S&P 500. 5550 on the upside for ES and 5500 on the downside so far today. Note there's a difference in price between ES and SPX, and right now it is about 42 points. So I'm showing this SPX 5450 at ES 5492. And I do post those index relationships that I'm using every day in Discord. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. Shifts in levels again for SPX. Put wall lower, call wall higher to more rational round number levels, the zeros and the 50s. And for SPY, the volatility trigger did move slightly higher to 555. So as we saw, SPY trading below that level as well as the 550 put wall. That's also the absolute gamma strike, 550. Move on to NASDAQ. Just a quick note, there were no shifts in levels today for NDX or QQQ. All right, so this is the NQ futures and Bookmap. Let's take a quick look at the underlying index charts. I'm going to go to QQQ. And for QQQ also trading below its put wall at 470. And then this 468.13, that's a combo 2 level. That was the last Spotgamma level shown in the index levels this morning. So no Spotgamma levels below the 468.13. All right, so QQQ did open up above its put wall, found resistance at 474, round number level, tried to stabilize at the 470 put wall, then broke lower. Now again, trading below the lowest Spotgamma level at 468.13. Let's take a look at NDX. Pretty similar to QQQ. A little bit of support at the put wall, then broke lower. A little bit of consolidation at this 19,320 combo 1 level, combining NDX and QQQ, gamma weighted open interest into 1 level. And now NDX is trading off the low of the day. All right, so back to NQ futures and Bookmap. Again, I have my own cloud notes, so I can show NDX levels. Here's that 19,375 put wall, and then the QQQ 470 put wall below that level. And for last, welcome, glad you're here. All right, so this is NASDAQ. Again, we'll take a look at setups in a few minutes. And just to repeat it again, for NASDAQ, there were no shifts in levels for NDX and QQQ. And QQQ and NDX both trading down below all of the Spotgamma levels. And Hector asks, when you see a gap, at this case, on the 1-minute chart, do you consider some expectation or opportunity for a fill or a half fill? No, that's not something that I think about, a gap fill. I'm just watching the levels, watching order flow and hedging flow. All right, so let's wrap up positional analysis now. by taking a look at gamma notional, and we'll take a look at the Vanna model in a negative gamma environment. Go to this one first. So this is market maker's position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. For the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, note all these numbers are negative. These numbers shifted lower from yesterday. Gamma notional for SPX yesterday was slightly positive, shifted to negative today. So for an index, Spotgamma assumes in a negative gamma environment that traders are long puts, market makers are short puts, hence the negative gamma. They have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. So again, these numbers did shift lower from yesterday and most likely will shift even lower tomorrow. All right, so let's take a look at the Vanna model to get a sense of what that may mean for our trading today. So this is the Vanna model, Vanna chart for SPX. The vertical axis is showing market makers' delta notion. That's their delta exposure. Remember, they want to remain delta neutral. And this is the spot price for SPX on the horizontal axis. There are two curves on this chart. The first curve, the light gray curve, shows how market makers' delta notional may change with changes in price only. And the purple curve adds implied volatility to the equation. That shows how market makers' delta notional may change with changes in price and implied volatility. So let's take a look at some prices now. So the high of the day, just after the open, was somewhere right around here. 55, right around 55.07. So between these two lines, low of the day so far, 54.53. All right, so as prices dropped today, implied volatility increasing, market makers' delta notional has been increasing. And you can see the difference that implied volatility makes to market makers' delta notional. So this indicates market makers need to sell ES futures to hedge their delta exposure. Price drops, implied volatility increases, market makers' delta notional is increasing, and they have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. Now this works both ways. If price starts to increase, implied volatility drops, market makers can buy back their short futures. And that's a put Vanna rally. So negative gamma environment, market makers are trading again with price, and that tends to lead to much wider trading ranges, more trend days rather than mean reverting range days. All right, so that's the Vanna model. So based on this, my thesis for the day was definitely looking for higher volatility, looking for a trend day, and also based on the overnight price action, my initial thesis for the day, directional bias, was bearish. And so far that has definitely played out today. All right, that is positional analysis. That was my thesis for the day. Now let's move on. Let's take a look at some setups. So as always, I'm going to start with the S&P 500 and take a look at what options traders have been doing today. What this chart is showing, this is the Spotgamma Hero chart. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. HIRO stands for Hedging Impact Real-Time Options, HIRO. What this chart is showing is a combined signal of options trades and market maker hedging activity in real time for SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures. So again, now we're moving on to execution, moving to real-time data. There are two lines on this chart. The first, the white line, shows price for SPX. and the purple line is the hero signal. A falling hero signal indicates traders are taking negative delta options positions. They are buying puts and or selling calls. And a rising hero signal indicates they are taking positive delta options positions. They are buying calls and or selling puts. Hello, rainy days. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right, so there are two signals that we can take a look at for the S&P 500. This is the index signal, again, showing a combined signal of options trades, market maker hedging activity for SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures. There's also an equity signal. And you can see this signal is much smoother than the index signal. That's pretty typical. And also providing much more clarity today about price action. So it varies from day to day. Often, almost always, the index signal is more noisy, more up and down. And it can provide more of a leading indication like it did yesterday. But today, the equity signal is providing much more clarity. What this chart is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for all 500 stocks in the S&P 500. And I'm going to shift now and take a look at puts and calls separately. I'm going to have to jump back to avoid auto zoom, go back to the equity signal. Now let's go to full screen. The orange line is showing calls. A falling orange line indicates traders are selling calls. And a falling blue line, that's for puts, indicates traders are buying puts. So they're taking negative delta positions. They're buying puts and selling calls. Blue line, orange line moving in the same direction. That's a very powerful directional indicator. In this case, definitely bearish. Note also this flow alert that comes in just after the cash open, getting your attention. So you see the flow alert, see the falling hero signals, orange line, blue line falling, definitely looking for a short entry, pullback entry as the, pullback entry as the orange and blue line continue to move lower. All right, so let's go take it. That was around right around 9:45. And I believe that was the pullback to 5,500. So let's go back to Bookmap now. Take a look at ES. Let's zoom in. Zoom in from about 9:30 to 11 a.m. Oops, sorry about that. $9:30 at the cash open. Let's look at the order flow in Bookmap. The volume dots show market buy minus sell. Those are market orders. Magenta dots indicate more sellers than buyers. Green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. This is this consolidation area, pull back to 5,500 that we just looked at on the hero chart. Perfect entry for a short. So you see that pull back to a level that you expect may act as resistance. Blue line, orange line continue to move down. Perfect setup for a short. So break several tests of that level. It looks like there were three tests of that level. Price broke lower. Note 5,500 was the put wall last week. On last Friday, that was the put wall, and it did survive several tests from the upside. In this case, price broke below that level, right at 945. Aggressive sellers starting to come in, shown by the magenta volume dots. Looking at the subchart here, cumulative volume delta falling, that's shown by the magenta line. Also, sell stop orders help to fuel the move lower, shown by the falling yellow line. Also the on-chart indicator, sell stop orders, those small red dots. All right, let's zoom out. And note, starting somewhere between 11 and 11:30, large traders have been fading this move, meaning they have been buying weakness. That's shown by that rising light blue line. I'm zoomed out, pretty far out. So these iceberg orders are consolidated. That's 5,797 contracts, 40 different executions. So if I zoomed in on that level, that would show more separate executions. 1,799. So large traders continue to buy with iceberg orders. Pretty typical behavior again. Fading the move, so they're buying weakness. Zooming out, here's one more, a couple more. 5,200, 1,886. So net for the day, again, large traders buying with iceberg orders. Looks like that's helping to stabilize the market. Also note the rising cumulative volume delta now. Some aggressive buyers are starting to come in right above the SPX 5450 level. All right, let's go back to Hero, see what options traders are doing. Zoom in on this signal a little bit. So now it looks like note earlier, put line, call line moving sharply lower. Then they've started to stabilize. Put line pretty much flat since about 11:25. Call wall still moving lower, but not with the steepness and the urgency of the early move lower up until about 11:25. So for the first 2 hours, traders were aggressively buying puts and selling calls, and then that activity has now leveled off. Let's just check the index signal. All right, so the index signal now looks like that is turning lower. Right now, call line and put line both moving lower. Go back to the equity signal. All right, so still slope, call line sloping slightly down, put line mostly flat since about 11:25. All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at NASDAQ now. Let me go back to full screen. I'm going to shift back to the total signal. Go to NASDAQ. So just like the S&P 500, there are two signals that we can take a look at for NASDAQ. This is the index signal, showing a combined signal of options trades and market maker hedging activity for NDX and QQQ. Mostly moving lower today. And starting to stabilize just about the same time as the S&P 500. So that's the index signal. Now let's take a look at this MAG 7 signal. What this chart is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal of the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven: Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla. And these stocks are definitely driving the market lower today. I'm going to shift to puts and calls. Take a quick look at NASDAQ again. So in NASDAQ, in the index signal, traders are starting to buy calls. But net for the day, there's still call sellers and put buyers. So let's go back to the Mag 7 signal. Going to zoom in on this. Go to full screen. So just like the S&P equity signal, which is really often just 493 plus Mag 7, traders selling calls, buying puts, and start to ease off right around 11:25. So over the first 2 hours. All right, so they were aggressively selling calls, again, buying puts. Let's go take a look at NASDAQ, go to the NQ futures and Bookmap. Very similar chart. Cash open. There were a few buyers right before the cash open, shown by the green volume dots. Then aggressive sellers come in. Let's zoom in on this. So a little bit of consolidation, just like the S&P 500. Took a little bit longer for the NASDAQ to break lower below the NDX 375 put wall. As traders were selling calls and buying puts in the Mag 7 stocks. Zoom out. And just like the S&P 500, although this line is much smoother, large traders also fading this move. So they are buying weakness with iceberg orders they use to hide their size. Also shown by the on-chart indicator. Again, I'm zoomed pretty far out, so these are quite aggregated. Contract number on the left, and number of executions on the right. So a pretty steady downtrend. Now NQ back down to the lows of the days. Low of the day. Notice all just above the lower weekly expected to move. Just below 19,300. Hello, Horsepower. Welcome. Glad you're here. Ask, could you have a look at Tesla? Sure. Yeah, Tesla's definitely on my list. All right, so speaking of that, let's move on to some stocks now. So the index is led lower by call sellers, put buyers in the Mag 7 stocks, as well as aggressive sellers. All right, so let's move on to Apple now. And we'll definitely get to Google and Tesla, as well as a couple of other stocks. So let's take a look now at Apple, see what traders have been doing. Traders selling calls, buying puts. When traders sell calls and buy puts, market makers take the opposite side of those trades, and they hedge their delta exposure by selling stock. Flow alert comes in just after the cash open. Get your attention. You see the falling orange line, falling blue line. Look for a short entry. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap. Note that 222.50 is the put wall for Apple, and Apple sliced right through that this morning. 222.50. Right about here, put wall. Apple sliced right through that. Falling cumulative volume delta. A lot of aggressive sellers. You can just see all of the magenta volume dots. Maybe some buyers coming in at 218, shown by the green volume dots. Let's go back to Hero. So put buyers and call sellers take their foot off the gas around 2 hours after the cash open, just like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. And Eric asked, buying, covering shorts. Not quite sure. Not quite sure what you mean by that. Maybe if you could clarify whether you're talking about options or futures contracts. So note for the futures contracts, Bookmap with the stops indicator does show the stop orders. All right, so that's Apple. Now let's take a look at Google. And before I take a close look at this chart, let's go to Bookmap. Go to Google. All right, I have 2 days worth of data here for Google. So this is yesterday. Cash open yesterday. Big move after the close yesterday. This is the closing print. Whoops. Sorry. Sorry about this. All right, so yesterday, this is the price action after the data release. Now let's zoom in on today. So not really a lot going on in Tesla today. Pretty narrow range. Let's see what options traders are doing. Let's go back to Hero. Normally I would not show this. There's not a lot to see, except want to make sure and cover the Mag 7 stocks that reported earnings. All right, so just after the open, this is a very large order, large institutional block order buying puts. That vertical blue line. That kind of distorts the rest of the picture. So I'm going to zoom just a little bit to get that out of the picture. So net for the day, traders have been selling calls. And initially they were selling puts after that big drop. And now the put line is flattened off, so really not a lot to see here. Much more with Tesla and some other stocks. All right, so that's Google for anyone who was curious about Google. All right, let's move on. There's another stock I wanted to take a look at. A couple more stocks before we get to Tesla. Next is Microsoft. Note 440 is the call wall, key gamma strike. right here. Note flow alert comes in just after the cash open. Move lower, consolidation. Then price starts to move lower. Traders buying puts, selling calls. Note there were some put sellers that came in. And then the options traders in Microsoft took their foot off the gas right around 12:45. So they stopped buying puts, stopped selling calls. Now Microsoft consolidating. Note the put wall is down at 425. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap now. Go to Microsoft. And I'm always looking for reactions at key gamma levels, key spot gamma levels. Remember 440. Call wall, key gamma strike. Price moved below that level, came up and retested it, pulled back to that level as traders were taking negative delta options positions, buying puts and selling calls. Price breaks below that level. Also VWAP, very good entry point for short to buy a put. So good for about 10-point move lower in Microsoft. Note there are a lot of aggressive buyers coming in. You can see all the magenta, the green volume dots. Green volume dots, aggressive buyers, rising cumulative volume delta. Options traders definitely driving price for Microsoft today. And Eric asked GEX levels on SPX. Eric, I suggest you go back to the watch the recording. I talked about the key daily levels, the spot gamma levels in SPX at the beginning of my webinar today. So just go back, watch the recording. I went over those key levels earlier today. All right, so that's Microsoft. Let's take a look at NVIDIA now. And for NVIDIA, 120 is the hedge wall. Acted as resistance. Price did not quite make it up to that level. Just after the cash open. Let's see what options traders are doing at NVIDIA. All right, so kind of a choppy picture here for NVIDIA. Let's zoom in a bit. So in the morning, traders were buying puts, selling calls, rejection right after the open at the 120 hedge wall. Then the call buyers come in, put sellers, that activity levels off. And then right around 10:45, they start buying puts and selling calls again. Price moves lower. Zoom out to the entire day. So right around 12:10, 12:15, call sellers have taken their foot off the gas. And they're also now selling puts, taking advantage of the drop in price, higher implied volatility to sell puts in NVIDIA. All right, let's take a look at Tesla. So the way I heard it on the news that Tesla's earnings report was pretty bad, but we'll see what's happening with Tesla. So initially in the morning, traders aggressively selling calls and buying puts. Price moves below the 220 put wall. Note floor alert comes in just a couple of minutes after the cash open. Get your attention. Nice pullback entry for a short. Then right around 10, the call sellers, put buyers, take the foot off the gas, start selling puts, start buying calls, price trying to recover. So the brave dip buyers came in around 10 a.m. for Tesla. Let's go take a look. Remember that pullback entry that was right around 9:38, 9:39. Pullback entry for a short in the morning. Go to Bookmap, go take a look at Tesla. All right, so I loaded 24 hours of data for Tesla as well. So yesterday, Tesla was trading, opened up right around 255. So most of the move, of course, has been overnight. Tesla traded down to right around 215. All right, now let's zoom in on this. All right, so this is just showing price action for today now. You can see all of the aggressive sellers. Opening print right around 225. So 30 points lower than the opening yesterday. There's that pullback entry. Tesla didn't quite make it to the VWAP, shown by the light blue line, make it to VWAP. Then remember 10 a.m. The call sellers, put buyers, take the foot off the gas, start selling puts and buying calls. Price moves higher. Note the green volume dots starting to come in. Aggressive buyers coming in. Now price is back up to around the 220 put wall. Now slightly below that level. Let's see what options traders are doing right now. Go back to Hero. Zoom in on this a bit. So pretty choppy signal right now for Tesla. All right, those are all the stocks that I had on my list. Does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? I'm going to go back to the S&P 500. All right, in the S&P 500 equities, traders continue to take negative delta positions. Hero signal definitely turning lower, right around 145. Let's check the index signal. Also moving lower. Definitely would not be looking for a long at this point in the S&P 500. Hello, Barney. Barney wants to take a look at IWM. Sure, let's take a look at IWM. I do not have that in a book map. So traders taking negative delta positions in IWM, trading right down to the 220 key gamma strike, key delta strike. As traders take negative delta positions. Let's check NASDAQ now. Overall, chop up and down, but the NASDAQ index signal pretty flat since about 1:15. Let's check the Mag 7. Also moving lower. Maybe stabilizing now. Let's go to Bookmap. Go back to the S&P 500. Down near lows of the day at 54.50. More large traders coming in with iceberg orders. 3,478 contracts. And rainy days ask about, could we take a look at GLD? Sure. All right, let's go to back to Hero. I do not have GLD in Bookmap. We can take a look at Hero. So in the morning, initially traders were bullish. Pretty quickly took their foot off the gas. Options traders. So they were taking positive delta positions, took their foot off the gas. Then now they've started taking negative delta positions. And it looks like GLD back down or down to lows of the day. And that's below the 223 hedge wall. Next level down below is the 222 put wall. Check NASDAQ. Zoom in on this a bit. So now NASDAQ also lows of the day, testing the lower weekly expected move. Does anyone else have any stocks they want me to take a look at? Any more questions? Let's run through these stocks again. Apple's still consolidating around 218. AMD very weak today. Another semiconductor stock very weak today. ARM Holdings. Check Tesla once again. See how it's doing around that 220 put wall. Trading right at 220. See what options traders are doing. And Eric asks, icebergs explain buying is short-term bullish. All right, let's take a look at. Go back to Bookmap, let's go to NASDAQ. Let's see if maybe a little bit more clear in the S&P 500. Yeah. All right, iceberg orders are a specific order type. They're available for CME futures, like the S&P 500, the ES, and NQ. These are what large traders often use to hide their size. So you can just imagine the tip of the iceberg is shown, and then Bookmap can detect that order and display it with this MBO indicator, market by order indicator. And it's not something that I use as a primary indicator, but it does provide some additional information, additional clarity, indicating large traders again are buying this move lower with iceberg orders. That's shown by the on-chart indicator that I'm pointing to, as well as the sub-chart indicator, this light blue line. So it looks like large traders are coming in and trying to support this 5450 level. That's SPX 5450. So I hope that helps. If Eric, if you have more questions, you can go to the Bookmap website and just look up icebergs in the knowledge base. Horsepower asks, how's the put wall calculated? Is it an average from previous days? No. The put wall is simply the strike with a large net negative gamma. So let's take a look at that. Go to the index chart here. I'm going to zoom in on this chart. This is the SPX, absolute gamma. Orange bar is showing positive gamma, or call gamma. Blue bar is showing negative gamma. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for the bar with the largest net negative gamma. So that would be the blue bar minus the orange bar. And that's right here. It's just a mathematical calculation. So it's the blue bar minus the orange bar. And the largest net difference, or negative gamma, is the put wall. All right, so horsepower, I hope that answers your question. All right, let's go back to Bookmap, wrap it up here. All right, so we're on S&P 500. Hector, I'm not sure, asking about 3D printing. Kind of beyond I appreciate your question, kind of beyond the scope of what I'm talking about. Plus, I'm out of time. My time is up. Everyone, I want to thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. Everyone, have a great afternoon. Remember, GDP, durable goods out tomorrow, PCE data, and Michigan consumer sentiment on Friday, and we'll talk about it on Friday afternoon. Again, everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. Have a great afternoon, and I will see you on Friday. Bye.